we have split in a lot of like small groups with specialties. Some people specialized in, for example, like heavy weapons. Some people specialize in missiles, launchers, kind of things. Some people specialize in sabotage. Some people specialize in sniping. So we're like teams of 2 or 3, maximum 4 people, basically, and like mobilized in different areas in Serikani or around Serikani. So that's how IFB has operated, like during Serikani time in October 2019.
Willkommen zum allerersten offiziellen Podcast von Young Struggle. Gerade eben war ein kleiner Vorgeschmack auf das kommende Interview. Die Stimme gehört zu einem IFB-Kämpfer, also einem Kämpfer des Internationalen Freiheits-Bataillon. Wir hatten die Möglichkeit, mit einem Internationalisten des IFB ein Interview zu führen. Unser Interviewpartner kommt ursprünglich aus Frankreich. Er erzählt viel über seinen Alltag, vor allem auch während des Widerstandskampfes in Serikani gegen die Invasion 2019, Ende 2019. Wir haben halt gemerkt, es gibt eine sehr große Nachfrage und Interesse an dem Leben der Guerilla. Also haben wir es entschlossen, das hier aufzunehmen. Das Ganze aufzunehmen war überhaupt gar nicht einfach. Es gab scheiße viele Probleme. Hier steckt echt viel Arbeit und Zeit und Frust drin. Das Ganze wurde aufgenommen halt während und nach der Invasion und den Widerstandskämpfen in Serikani Ende 2019. Es gibt hier wirklich viel spannende Informationen drin in diesem Interview. Außerdem, unser Interviewpartner ist einfach echt heftig. Er war der allererste Internationalist, der Anfang 2018 in Afrin gekämpft hat, an der Frontlinie. Ja, also ich wünsche euch sehr viel Spaß beim Hören.
So about myself, I am French militant, revolutionary militant, obviously. I don't know if you want me to get into the details about my ideology, but obviously I am anti-fascist, anti-capitalist, and I am kind of what we call in France autonomous militant. Autonomous not in the way like single militant, but militant from the autonomous movement. The autonomous movement being like the main radical movement in France, like doing practical actions. But again, like I don't know if you know a little bit like about European far left, but autonomous movement doesn't mean that we are not organized, and we have like a lot of organizations within the autonomous movement, and I am in some of them. I will not detail like which ones for safety, but I am a member of different groups in France and in Italy. In Italy also in the autonomous movement, which is different from the French one, but still like very focused on doing things and not just talking. And politically I have a lot of affinities with some like political currents that can be like considered as like insurrectionalist communism, this kind of thing. Like I don't know if you know a little bit about the Invisible Committee, for example. Yes, very close to the Invisible Committee, Fury and People, for example. So now I am 24. I started to like make militantism when I was 14. So from 14 to 16, because of my life, because of where I was living in the countryside and all this stuff, it was very hard to make like actual political things. So it was more like getting a lot of political knowledge and trying to meet people and all this stuff. After from 16 to 18, I began to make like some actions, some like more like organization network things. And after like when I was 17, 18, I could become member of some organization in the city, because I was able to live in the city after for my universitarian studies, and so I was able to make radical militantism for a few years, and just after getting 21, I left for Rojava, so it was at the end of 2016, and I remained there a year and a half, so from December 2016 until the end of May 2018. First, I spent 5 weeks within the YPG Academy, which is the place where YPG is ideologically and military speaking forming the new international volunteers. And after that, as I was a little bit planning it before, I went to IFB, so International Freiheits-Bataillon Battalion, as you know. And to go to IFB, you have to be affiliated with a Turkish party. And at the time, I chose to affiliate myself with the party called DKP Bug. DKP being the party, DKP, and Bug, BOJ, being the armed rank, basically. So DKP Bug. And yes, I was part of the Galta line, QALTA, which was a city 25 kilometers north of Raqqa. Then I went on Raqqa frontline directly in the city until the end. And then I went to Afrin when the invasion started. So at the beginning of 2018, in January 2018, yes, I arrived to Afrin. I was the first national fighter to arrive there and to go on front line there. So kind of little bit, yes, anecdote about this. We are not a lot at the time. And I stayed in Afrin until a week before the rendition. So I left from Afrin around the 8th of March 2018. After I went back to my headquarter base in the Jazire canton, and I remained there until May. And after I went back to Europe for 9 months. So I went back to Europe and made some conferences in different countries about Rojava, thanks to my network and to the friends network. And I came back in Rojava in March 2019. So I left Europe at the end of February 2019. I spent some time in other countries, on my way back to Rojava. I spent a week in the mountains, and I arrived around mid-March 2019. So I came back with DKP Bug, but after 5 weeks, I left them to go with DKP Birlik. DKP Birlik being a scission of DKP Bug, because the party has split a month after I left them in 2018. So in June, or not really now, in June, yes, they have begun the split in June 2018, and it was official in August 2018. And so I came back with DKP Bug because I didn't want to I had to pick up a party to come back with, but I don't want to take part for one part or the other part of the splitted party. But yeah, once I came back, I saw the reason of the splits, political reasons, social reasons, different things, and so I chose for political and ethical reason to go with DKP Birlik. So I left DKP Birlik to come back with DKP Birlik, and since then I am still with them. And yes, I was mobilized every time we were in an alarm situation in case of invasion. So I was sent to Serikani a few times, including a few days before the invasion in October 2019. And when the invasion started, I was already there. So I fight during the 12 days of battle in Serikani. Then like I left the city like with the last convoy when like we were ordered to all leave the city, the last fighters, so I left the city. And then I continued to fight after like during the Teltamer front line, so like on all these villages between Serikani and Teltamer, I continued to fight like against Turkish army and Islamist groups working for Turkish army. And yes, I'm still fighting. I mean, like since January, we are more like in a more quiet situation, so there is still like some fights sometimes, but not so much. So since January, I am like just on standby back, and I'm just like training new international volunteers. I am like a trainer now, but as soon as like the frontline will be like more active again and these kind of things, I will like go back for fight. And yes, during November, one time in September, October, one time in October, at the end of October 2019, I've been injured the first time. So why AFB? Basically because AFB is the most political military structure existing now in Rojava, and because also like politically I'm very close to them. How can I say? Basically, okay, there is like this structure called the IPG International, as I said, but like two problems with IPG International. So the first one is that a lot of different profiles of like volunteers are going there, including people who are not political, or worse, people who are political but from the right side, and before, not anymore, but before from the far right side. So this I was not like big fan of it. Second like problem is that yes, tactically speaking, like I don't like to spend time with them so much. Like it's not like professional militants, main part of them, and they are not like so much sent on frontline. They are sent on frontline also, and they are also like taking part in the fights, and I really respect them, but they are less active, let's say, than us in AFB, for example. And also like in terms of autonomy, they don't have so much autonomy. They are like directly linked to the Kurdish movement, so they can't like have personal freedom, or they can't take like yes autonomy of initiatives, let's say. Whereas with the IFB, first we're able to have like some autonomy. We are able to choose like if you want to be like directly in the IFB structure on frontline, or just affiliated to IFB but like cooperates with Kurdish fighters from YPG or YPG, which we're actually doing with my group, which is like more interesting, I believe. Also, when there is no frontline, like IFB is like not mobilized, so we are able to do like overworks when we are back. Whereas the internationals, when there is no frontline, we are just like waiting in some base and doing a lot of things. So things is a bit like empty this time, but they are like spending to do nothing. Whereas us, we are able to do a lot of things, like also like training, special trainings, visiting civil friends, kind of things, like doing overworks projects. So it's more interesting. And it's also in IFB, obviously, like this is where you can like find only militants. Like normally, like people working in IFB are all highly political, and it's a mix of like okay, yes, this like. So the IFB, as I say, was like in standby in Serikani a few days before the invasion, so we were ready. And the IFB like adopted a new fighting mode. So instead of being like all together like as a big unit, as it was like during Raqqa time, for example, against Daesh, no, because of like the risk of like airstrikes and drones and all this stuff, it makes no sense to be like a big group moving together. So we have to be like small group with a lot of autonomy and a lot of how can I say, movement ability, basically. Like we should be like very fast, very fluid. So we have split in a lot of like small groups with specialties. Some people specialized in, for example, like heavy weapons. Some people specialized in missiles, launchers, kind of things. Some people specialized in sabotage. Some people specialized in sniping. So we're like teams of 2 or 3, maximum 4 people, basically. And like mobilized in different areas in Serikani or around Serikani. So that's how IFB has operated like during Serikani time in October 2019. And after we left Serikani, a part of IFB remained like together, and the part of IFB, us, and also some friends from Melekape decided to make mixed teams with YPG EPG. So after we went back to fight, making mixed teams with YPG EPG to fight like in these villages between Serukani and Tatamar. Why this choice? Because Serukani, we knew it, we knew the city, but for all these villages, these local villages, like between Tatamar and Serukani, we didn't know them so much. So we wanted to be like in mixed teams with some like local people. It was making more sense. So that's how we did, and I think we did a good job, to be honest. Like, I think this is it's one of the first time that I see our teams being like so efficient. I mean, like, we have always been efficient, but like these choices we have made, like, I think have really like made us more efficient than usual. Like less, how could I say, less static than before, because before when we were like our only IFB teams, we were like always waiting for like help from orders from like Kurdish commanders, but like the fact to mix teams. So about the fightings, as I was saying, like, yes, they are still going on, but it's like really quiet compared to before. This is a little bit, how could I say, low sporadic fightings around El Tamer. So sometimes like operations at night, some like fast operations, but not so much. Some special operations, like maybe like sniping during night or day sometimes, but that's all for now. But until December, we were like in high intensity like fight. But yes, since the end of December, basically, it's a little bit more quiet, and we are waiting like to see. Yeah, obviously the fighting experience with Turkish forces was full different from the one with Daesh. Okay, luckily me, I was like already a bit used to this kind of war thanks to Afrin. Thanks, if I can say so, thanks to Afrin or because of Afrin. But yes, like the main difference is that like against Daesh, the airplanes were with us against the common enemy, so it was like US airplanes and French airplanes mainly like airstriking enemy positions. Whereas like now it is like still NATO airplanes, but Turkish airplanes like striking us. Same thing like drones against us. So like the sky is like a dimension fully hostile now. Whereas before with Daesh it was mainly friendly. So this is a big difference. Also Daesh like didn't have so much like big artillery. They were not like very good to be accurate when they were like shooting with mortars. Whereas the Turks, when they shoot with mortars, are very accurate, and they have also big artillery that they use a lot, fucking lot. So it's a problem, obviously. So yes, it's obviously harder like against Turkish forces. That's why we are like losing until now, because obviously our army is not a professional one, and we are a poor army, so we don't have like the same means as the Turkish army, which is, I should remind it, like the second largest army of NATO. So yes, because of their like technology, equipment, and like fire superiority, like it's really harder than against Daesh. And also another thing is that, okay, they are using mainly like their proxies, their jihadist or nationalist proxies against us, who like are very similar to Daesh. Some actually are like former Daesh members, but also sometimes they are using like Turkish officers to coordinate the groups, or like some like commando from the Turkish special forces. And this is something like very hard to be able to strike again. Basically, like they are very experienced and very good in what they are doing. So it's a problem for us. And also like Daesh had vehicles, but compared to Turkey, it was like not so much, because Turkey had like fucking a lot of vehicles, a lot of tanks, more than Daesh, a lot of tanks. All their troops are moving with like armored vehicles, and this is really harder for us, like to strike again. So about the day-to-day daily life, basically, well, there are a lot of things to say. Like, okay, I can tell you like what is our daily life right now, as we are back and as we are not like in a alarm situation. We are not mobilized on front lines. So basically, we wake up at 5:30 in the morning. 5:30 we wake up. Okay, like we clean ourselves, like kind of things like basic, like short cleaning, and after like we start sport at 5:45. We do 1 hour and 10 minutes more or less, like from of intensive sport, basically, like very intensive sport. So until 6:45 usually, 6:45, sometimes like 6:55, this kind of thing, 6:50, it depends on you, like 1 hour and some minutes. So every day we have like a different kind of sport. Sometimes like general sport where we work all our bodies. Sometimes like specialized days like arms and shoulders, or back and ass, or like legs or abdos, these kind of things. Or sometimes like just like dynamic stretching when we have like rest days, or sometimes like resistance. So it's like mainly cardio. So we run a lot, or we do like fractioned running, these kind of things. Then at 7 we have breakfast. After like we end breakfast basically like between 7:30 and 8. So after breakfast we have like between half an hour and an hour of common task, like to order and clean our base basically. So yes, from 7:30 to 8:30, or from 8 to 9 more or less, we are doing these works. After from 8:30 to 11:30, or from 9 to 12, depending on the days, we have education, so the morning, so 3 hours usually. So yeah, 8:30 to 11:30 or 9 to 12. So depending on the days, like it can be like or political and ideological education, or like these days mainly like military education, so a lot of theory, specifically the morning. But it can be also like other things, like it can be technical education, informatic education, it can be anything, basically anything. But yeah, like these days it's especially military, and some days like ideological. Then around 12:30 we have lunch. So like yeah, from 12 to 12:30, or from 12:30 to 1, depending on the day, same thing. Then we can rest a little bit until 2, and then from 2 to 5:30, or from 2:30 to 6, so like 3 hours and a half every afternoon. We have again like education, so usually military education, but again sometimes it can be something else. It can be like language, it can be ideology again, but usually like these days military education. And so like the practical parts, if we do theory in the morning, we do practice in the afternoon. Sometimes like full theory day, sometimes like full practice day, it depends. But usually, yes, as I was saying, morning theory, afternoon practice. And that's it. And after like between 5:30 and 6, or just before 6, we make like just a small daily meeting called the tech meal, just between like the training groups, to like analyze our like training day, to analyze our mistakes, to criticize, self-criticize, suggest new things, propose other things to do, this kind of thing basically. Then around 6 or 6:30 we have a dinner. So from 6:30, or from 6:30 to 7 basically, we have a dinner. Then at 7, between 7 and 7:30, or 7:30 and 8, it depends on the day, we have what we call the DPT. It's like a kind of over tech meal, like a meeting tech meal, but like with everyone, like every members of the base. So like the international comrades, the different training groups, the Kurdish and Turkish comrades, everyone. So yes, usually we have finished between 7:30 and 8 this meeting. So same thing, like it's like in 3 parts. First part, like things about the day. So like we say what we did today, we share what information we got during the day. Like, okay, we went outside, we met this comrade, we say that. We went to this meeting outside, we went to the garage to fix the car, we went to buy this, we trained this today, and these kind of things. And also this is like where we share like or again, like criticisms, suggestions, proposals, like about how to change the life, how to adapt things, basically. Then the second part of this meeting is like the news. So we share the specific news or about Rojava or about like international things. It can be like, oh yes, like the commander say we have to change I don't know, the rules about how to drive car. It can be like this kind of things, local news. It can also be like things like, oh yes, like I don't know, some riots in New York today, this kind of thing. Okay, like general news. And then the third part is the planification of the next days, the planning of the next days. So especially of like the day after, it can be also like for like later days. So tomorrow I have to go like to the city for this, or tomorrow we have training from this time to this time and we do all this. Or like, oh yeah, next week like this command will come to visit. Basically this is planification, and you understand the idea. And so yes, we have finished between 7:30 and 8. And after, from 8 to 9 usually, or from 8:30 to 9:30, depending on the days again. We have language education in Kurdish for now. So yeah, 8 to 9 or 8:30 to 9:30. So this is like every 2 days we have like language education, and all the other days, same thing from 8 to 10 or like 8:30 to 10:30. We have common things like, for example, movies. Like we watch a movie together, like political usually. Or we have like discussions, but like more like chill, more relaxed discussions, you know, like where we are eating at the same time, like some sugar things. It's more or less like cool discussions or games, eventually, like collective games, or yes, like collective movies we are watching together, or documentaries. These kind of things, basically. And then like at or 9 or 9:30 or 10 or 10:30, depends on the day, we are finished, and we usually go to sleep after that. So that's it. So every 2 days language, and every 2 other days basically. So half of the days, these collective things. And then during the night, of course, like after that, during the night. Just to add, like some days, of course, are special. This is like the basic days, but once a week or once every 10 days, we have like, or like, actually like every week, once a week we have like half 3 day, and once every 10 days we have full 3 days usually, and we use this like half 3 days or like full 3 days to go and visit some people, for example. Sorry, like I will precise the message. So yeah, I was saying, sorry because I was interrupted. But yes, like when we have like, for example, like half 3 day, so like once a week usually, we go out like cities around, so Teltamer, Awasaki, sometimes like before Selikani, but not anymore. So yes, like we have civil friends there, so we do some work with them, like different things, like like buying stuff, seeing like tailors, for example, like to fix some like clothes of us, or just visiting like friends in other like base, like other military friends or civil friends, family from sorry, speaking Kurdish, families from like soldier friends that we know, these kind of things. Like it's cool. And yeah, like once every 10 days, when we have like full days, like we go like to other cities like Derrick or Kamishlo, for example, where also we have like friends, military or civilians. For example, me, I have like some civilian friends in Kamishlo, so I try like to visit them. 1 minute, please. And sorry, like 3 times, like no time to read it. So and oh yes, so we go eventually like to take some like collective time together. For example, like I don't know, when summer, like we went many times like to swim at different places. Sometimes in the Euphrates, sometimes in some like small rivers, or we go to some nice places like to to spend times together, like to walk, like to make rallies in some hills, or to make picnics, or to make like, I don't know, like sports, like, but football parties, football match, like, or volleyball match with comrades from other structures, kind of things. It's cool. But yeah, we have a lot of visits every week, and we visit a lot of people every week also. Like, if we have like, actually, like every time we have free time, more or less, we are visiting people, or people are visiting us, basically. And when we are not in like education time, so like when we have like more free days, in this case, yes, we are really more out. Like if we are not in education program, for example, like, I don't know, maybe in a few months we will be like more free, so it will be like every half day will be free, for example. In this case, we will be like visiting friends from Anarchists, for example, who are good friends of us. It's like an anarchist group of Westerners also, Anarchists it's called. It was also an AFB before. Or we go to visit, for example, our friends from Olympic Nationals, kind of things, when we have more time. So it's cool. Okay, I can't complain. Like within our structure, we have a lot of freedom and autonomy to see people. That's cool. So yes, obviously our daily life has changed a lot since the Turkish invasion. First, as you have, unfortunately, I'm sorry, like as you have seen, sometimes like we have some security issues, or like some emergency meetings or things like to do, and we have to go in other places for like a day or for a few days. That's why like it was so long for me like to give you this reportage. I'm sorry. And yes, like about security, it's really like a big issue now, especially like people who are like affiliated to AFB, so through these Turkish left parties, are mainly targeted by the secret services from Turkey, and especially also like the international. So when you are like an international volunteer within the AFB in Turkish left, it's like full high danger. And this is a problem for us. So no, like usually we use like our cars, and our cars like are known to be military cars, and like they have like specific like military symbols, let's say, on it, like military marks, and now we're trying like to avoid to use them because it's dangerous, it's exposing us too much. Same thing, like we try to avoid to go in some places, where we think that it can be like dangerous for us to go. Yeah, we don't leave our car like without any like surveillance kind of thing when we go outside. We have to be very careful about like every single word we can like say to civilians, even if they are like sympathizers, because any information, even if we don't realize it, can be used by the enemy. And yes, like basically we are more careful, and many times we have to evacuate our positions to go in other places when there is a risk of airstrikes or drones, kind of things, like because Turkey is still using like drones, although officially Russia and US say that they are not allowing Turkey to use drones after their like territory limits like of occupation, but still like Turkish drones are still flying like south of Teltamer and around Asaki and all this stuff, so we are still exposed to airstrikes or artillery shells. So yeah, like it's more stressful, more guard duty, more, how can I say this, more unstable situation for us, like moving a lot, always being ready to leave, we're not able as much as before, like to go to see friends, we're not able to travel as easily as before, sorry. Also before we were trying like, to go sometimes like around Kobane, around the Euphrates, but now it's very hard because of like the territory that the enemy is occupying, like the road. Now we have to make a big tour on the south, and it's taking like a long time, so we can't go so much like on this area anymore. So yeah, that's the thing. Yes, like the life is really like less nice since the invasion. And Serikani was like a city we loved a lot. It was a city we are going a lot to, and now we can't go there anymore. So this also has a lot affected our life, our daily life. And a lot of other details, but it's hard to explain, or some things I can't share with you, I'm sorry, but the things I can share, yes, for example, the logistic we receive is less good since the invasion, because we are in a little bit, we have to be careful about our resources, so we can't have as much stuff as before. These kind of things, always living with thinking, maybe we have to evacuate in a few minutes, or maybe we can't have long-term perspective or long-plan perspective. These kind of things. This is a pain in the ass, to be honest. Always to don't know what will happen. You know what I mean? There is nowhere. Okay, you can know. Okay, we will do this after this, but no. We're always living day to day, and we can't make big plans. Or sometimes when we make plans, they are totally collapsing because of the situation, and this is a problem. I don't know if you can say in English uncertainty, something like that, when you're not sure of something. Uncertainty, I think something like that, you know what I mean? And this is hard, to be honest. And anything else I want to add? Yes, a lot of things to talk about, but I will stay very classic, but I think it's important that people realize that it's good to make protests, to make rallies, to support the struggle here. And I am not saying that the struggle of the Kurdish people and of the revolutionaries from Syria is the only one and the only interesting one. There are a lot of different struggles around the world that deserve to be supported. But if people want to support us, yes, rallies are not enough. I'm sorry, but right now we have to put pressure on the fascist Turkish state and to impact their economy, to impact their means, and to do that there is no choice. We have to be ready to make things that are really making damage to their economy, making damage to their productive system, making damage to their diplomatic presentation, these kind of things. So I think it's important that people accept the idea that as militants we have to be offensive in our relationship with our enemies. Militants, military is the same grammatical root. So yes, if you are militant, you have to be offensive. You have to be aggressive, if I can say so. Not in a patriarchal mode, but aggressive in the mean that you have an enemy, you want to destroy it. That's it. We are not discussing about a debate of we have different ideas, we have different conceptions about life, about the world. No, we are talking about people who are not classic adversaries. They are openly fascist, and the world they are trying to build is I don't know, a nightmare. And if we don't oppose to it with every means, we are going to lose. So I think it's important to realize this. Yes, we are at war. Not only in the hills and desert of Rojava, but in every street, in every state, in every continent, we are at war against an idea. And one of the main actors of this fascist idea right now is the Turkish state. We have to attack it by every means. We have to attack it. This is important. There will not be any freedom in the Middle East without the full destruction of the Turkish state. This is a reality. I really would like people to try to look and to get interest to the history of Turkey, to understand that the Turkish state, since its foundation, is a fascist state. Okay, all the states are authoritarian and oppressive, I know that, but the Turkish state is very special. The Turkish state, I think, is the best image of the direction towards which modern liberal states are going to. Basically, the Turkish state is just a step further in the officialization of fascism, the open fascism. But French states, US states, a lot of so-called liberal states are going towards this direction, and we have to stop it. And yes, I think we have to destroy the Turkish state as a priority. this is something I would like people to understand. So thank you to give me the opportunity to share this.
Das war's. Das ist das Ende der allerersten Folge. Vielen Dank an unseren Interviewpartner. So, ich weiß, wird ihr nicht verstehen können auf Deutsch. Trotzdem Dankeschön. Geht auf unsere Webseite. Dort findet ihr viele weitere Artikel, Interviews, Reportagen, Statements, also was. Außerdem findet ihr das Interview hier und ein paar Bilder von unserem Interviewpartner. Die Webseite lautet young-struggle.org, also young-struggle.org. Außerdem folgt uns auf Social Media, unbedingt Instagram, das ist @youngstruggle_. Twitter haben wir auch, ist ys_Europe, also Europa auf Englisch, Europe. Facebook benutzt niemand mehr, aber ja, wir haben es trotzdem so Young Struggle Europe auseinandergeschrieben alles. Dann danke fürs Zuhören, bis zum nächsten Mal.